Hi there, lovely people. Welcome to this little mini reading. Now, if this is the first video that you see, then there's actually been a video previous to this one. And that is a video where I talk about how to approach pick a card readings. And I sort of, did some tests with the people watching about, how you choose the individual cards. Now, if that is something that you would be interested in, then maybe jump back. I'll put a link somewhere around here. If not, and if this reading just came into your feed and it felt like this was one you needed to see and this was something that resonated with you, then you don't have to. We have 3 cards in front of us, and those cards are from, let me just pull out from this one, the Folklore Oracle. And as card number 1, we have number 5, Waulking, whose voices are raised alongside yours. Card number 2 is number 31, Moon Faces, how can you radiate light in the dark? And then we have card number 40, what requires your protection? Now, these are the 3 cards. In collective readings, as I would have said in the video prior to this one, that this is actually a part 2 of, in a collective reading, you tune into your intuition in terms of what card resonates with the intention that you hold. So if you come to this reading, I would really like you to sort of just take a quick moment, pause the video if necessary, and really tap into what is it that your intention is, what are you requiring some answers to. And yeah, again, I would maybe advise to look at the video prior to this one, part 1, because there are actually a few tips and tricks there on how to sort of connect and make a reading personal. Now, this is not going to be a major reading. This is just a little quick one because I realized after I finished part 1 that maybe someone had gotten quite attached to a card, and then I just finished the video and I didn't really make a reading out of it. So yeah, this is part 2. So if you were in part 1, then this is the reading. So tune in however way it resonates with you. There is nothing right, well, nothing wrong. I think that's the right way to say it. There's no wrong way to do this. So really just tap into your intuition, tap into what resonates with you. Choose a card that you feel drawn to, and then we'll take it from there. As said, we have number 5, Waulking. We have number 31, Moon Faces, and we have 40, Salt. And there will be timestamps so that what card you choose, you don't have to, if you choose number 3, for instance, and you're not really connecting to these, you don't have to look through those 2. You can actually just use the timestamps and just jump straight ahead to the card you want to see. So, all this said and done, I will let these cards lie here for a moment, and then we will dive into the reading very shortly. Hello there, my pile ones. You have chosen Waulking, whose voices are raised alongside yours. Now, if we take a look at this, just, shortly, let me just pull it up here for you. And I hope that focuses. I can't really see from where I'm sitting. Notice the collaboration, notice the common sort of effort in making things happen. The card number 5 tends to be a very sort of kind of fast moving, energetic, always doing things, sometimes on the shadow side a little bit chaotic, changing. So those are energies belonging to it as well. Let's just draw a few cards here. There we go. So alongside this card, we have this one. And it says, keeping it simple, your mind may convince you that manifesting your destiny is more difficult or complex than it needs to be. Yet the guidance of the Divine Mother is to keep things simple. Do what you can do, let go of everything else. So that was keeping it simple. And then we have this one. Grace within reach. It's okay to feel like a mess right now, to feel that you need help. Speaking of help, and to want to resolve whatever has troubled your heart and mind, or mind, sorry. My grace is within reach. As you ask for my help, I shall lift you into safety and peace now. My dear friends, this for me seems like a message of, guidance is here, that you're not alone in this, that I wonder what it is that's been troubling you, keeping it simple. Have you been stuck with something? Is something not going exactly as you want it to go? I'm feeling like whose voices are raised alongside yours? I'm getting this image of, well, the one part is the collaboration part, but then I get another part like maybe you carry voices with you that are really not that beneficial to you in terms of, say, if you've grown up in an environment where you were never really praised or never really listened to, or like, how you felt and how you experienced things weren't ever listened to, then we kind of tend to, growing up in situations like that, we kind of tend to adopt some quote unquote truths about ourselves that are really not truths, but it's kind of, oh, you see, I've taken it, there we go. It's not really truths, but it's lines and phrases that we sort of more or less unconsciously keep telling ourselves that get to have too much significance in the way that we live our lives. So if, for instance, the voice is I'm not good enough, then we tend to maybe not push as far as we would have, because at some point we face this wall where we feel we don't deserve whatever it is that we are attempting to get. So it's kind of like this double energy to it, like, reach out for help, but also recognize that there may be voices in your head that are not entirely yours. Let's draw some tarot cards and see what they have to offer. I see this one. I see that one. And that one. And that one. Yes. And this one here. There we go. Let's see what we have for you. We have the Five of Cups. We have the King of Pentacles. We have the Ten of Cups. We have the Knight of Wands. And finally, we have the Empress. I definitely feel like there's some manifesting going on here, some sort of working towards a goal. And I feel like there's really, even this is centered, I feel like there's, you know, great opportunities, like, you know, the guidance is here. If you listen to the guides, you're going to get in the right direction. I also feel like, yes, and the cups are kind of this emotional, internal thing, which draws me to say that for probably the majority of you, this is something internal. These voices are internal, like not being good enough, or not being the servant, or not having earned something, always a failure. We all know those sentences that our egos and our minds tend to run in our heads at times of fatigue, maybe. And it really is, I mean, if you feel like you're getting stuck and you feel like you're kind of battling the same things, it can be easy to sort of reach that level of fatigue, that level of demotivation. Like, how long do you have to keep doing this for in order to achieve these things? But we have the Empress here, like these very, very fertile ground. We have the Ten of Cups, that's kind of like encompassing everything, that it's kind of the peak of an emotional journey. Like, this is what you aim for, this is what you dream of. These are big cards, my friend. These are really, really big cards. But it's kind of like there's something, some inner chatter going on that allows for this kind of halt sensation, this kind of stuckness that you may feel. But you are definitely being guided through this. So pay attention, I want to say. Now, obviously, if you're rather new to, you know, a spiritual path or a spiritual journey, then maybe the sense of intuition is not something you feel is strong, but it's actually rather, I wouldn't say easy, but it can be harnessed and strengthened with rather simple practices. It's okay to feel like a mess right now, to feel like you need help, and to want to resolve whatever has troubled your heart or mind. I feel like this calls for patience, and whatever this is, this is not a work that is done quickly. This is not something that you just do overnight. This is something that needs the attention to detail, that needs consideration of the smaller things, but the smaller things tend to be the bigger things at the end of the day. those little adjustments may end up being the very things that actually leads all the way to your goal. So have patience in whatever it is you're in now, and know that you're guided. Pay attention to synchronicities, to what most people call coincidences. Pay attention to little signs like that. If you are, for instance, on YouTube a lot and there's notifications about collective readings and you feel sort of this draw in your stomach, your gut feeling, pay attention to that. If you haven't got the time to listen to the reading in the moment, then try to, take a screenshot or save it. Anything to honor that what is that called? That surge from your intuition, because that is essentially how we practice intuition. That is starting to listen to it whenever we recognize that it's there. But I definitely do feel like there's something, there's fertility, there's something growing here. There's something being birthed, something that I feel you're working on and you've gotten stuck with, mainly because of the voices in your own head, mainly because of the obstacles that you kind of unintentionally put on yourself. And it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for a second opinion, because sometimes that fresh set of eyes, in whatever area this relates to, that fresh set of eyes can actually be the one that makes it go on, makes it move again. Yes. Now, of course, there can be many of you, but can we just get a little sneak peek into what area are we talking about here? Are there any specifics that needs to be mentioned about this stuckness and the themes around it? Now let's take a look. We have the Five of Swords. Let's put it here. The Knight of Swords and the Nine of Cups. Interesting. Now the swords really relates to the intellectual level, to thoughts, to the air element. When I see the Five of Swords and the Knight of Swords, I partially see conflict. I see sort of this almost like being left empty-handed. Then I see Knight of Swords, that's kind of like this, taking what you know and making use of it. Then we have the Nine of Cups, that in one way speaks into abundance. We have the Ten of Cups here. In one way speaks into this abundance, but there's also this sort of like build up, sort of like kind of holding things to itself. We have the air and the water, and in terms of area where these manifesting, this growing, this fertile thing sort of comes to life, so to speak, I see that in an area of the thought, like this is something internal. This is, I think you'll find that if you sit yourself down, for instance, and you start writing down what you know, and we can sometimes get this idea that this other person thinks that way about us, but really what we're doing is actually a projection of our own insecurities. So sometimes it can actually be helpful to write down all these facts that we tell ourselves and put them in boxes. Like, this is a fact beyond shadow of a doubt. I have actually heard a person say that, or I have seen this happen. That is a fact. Then we have dreams. Then we have a box for presumptions. Like when we think a person thinks a certain way about us, but they actually don't, or we don't have proof that they do, that is actually a presumption. And we need to be very much aware of that, because our presumptions can actually be quite the hindrance for anything that we want to achieve and do and accomplish in our lives. Presumptions are really not a good thing. It's not like you're going to have to beat yourself over the head about it. The important thing is to notice and to become aware of when they happen, because we all more or less do it all the time. So that is a practice that I would do in terms of this. However physical in the world this may seem, like a work environment thing or in a relationship, I want you to actually really consider how much goes on in your own mind about these things. Now, this is going to apply to some of you, but there's also going to be some that has really been left empty-handed, that has really been let down. And because of that being let down, you feel like this is something you're going to have to do on your own then, but you kind of not know how to. And there will be others there to pick up the torch. If this is a more external physical matter, there will be others there to pick up the torch. There will too if it's an internal matter. It's just you have to look for it in different places. But I definitely do feel like with Waulking and with the confirmation of the support, of the guidance, I do feel like this is not something that you have to deal with alone. There is actually help out there that can aid you in pushing this further. But I am really sorry, because I mean, that feeling of getting stuck and not feeling like you can move out of the way of yourself, so to speak, or out of the way of of somebody else's way, that feeling of stuckness, that feeling of not being able to get to the place you want to go, it can be such a demotivator, and it can actually be quite take a quite mental toll on a human's well-being to be stuck and to not really get things going the way that you want to, especially if it continues over an expanded period of time. So my dear souls, if that is something that you're going through right now, then I'm sorry, and I do hope that you get out of it fast. Keep your eyes open for guidance, or for people that can actually lend you an extra hand, because they are out there. my dear Pile 1, that was your reading, and I hope some of this resonated. I hope that you can take something with you that you can use for good, and yeah, if it resonated, you know, like, subscribe, all of those things, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video, hopefully. Have a great day. Bye. Hello, my Pile 2s. You have chosen the card number 31, Moon Faces. How can you radiate light in the dark? Oh, that is a good question. And being able to radiate light in the dark is something that not only benefits you, but can also benefit somebody else. So how can you radiate light in the dark? I want to say, how can you be of service? Is there something that you need to be in service of? Is there something you want to be in service of? I actually feel like I want free for you. Now let's see. What will you choose now? You always have this moment in between all that has been in the past and all that can be in the future. There is this moment, a space where you have absolute power of choice. So why not allow yourself to choose peace, to choose trust, and to fall in love with your life? What will we choose now? How can you radiate light in the dark? It's be bold. If we have been taught to always settle for less than what we dream of, we may wonder if living a boldly optimistic life is unrealistic. But you are an adventurer, a divine explorer on the wild path of life. You have been created with those bold dreams in your heart, and you are meant to fulfill them with the loving encouragement and support of life. Be bold. Look at this. This is beautiful, isn't it? Yes. So we have be bold, and what will you choose now? I feel like we're tuning into a call for action here. Be guided now. Allow yourself to be guided. The guide cannot take the steps for you. That is your job. But the guide can show you the way. It is up to you if you choose to take it, whether you tread carefully, dance, or run along that sacred pathway towards the loving arms of the Holy Mother. She's always there to help you. Right. I do feel like we're touching in for some call to action here, like, let's revisit this one. What will you choose now? You always have this moment. So why not allow yourself to choose peace, to choose trust? Yes, and to fall in love with life. Depending on where you enter this reading, take a note of where the moon phases lie, whether we're close to a new moon or whether we're close to a full moon, because that can determine a little bit of the energy. How can you radiate light in the dark? How can you fall in love with light? But when you radiate light in the dark, you not only light up for yourself, it's not only falling in love with your life, you're also being the example to others. Be bold. Are you letting yourself dim your light a bit, maybe? I wonder if that is what this is about, that maybe you're not allowing yourself to shine. How can you radiate light in the dark? How can you allow yourself to shine? What would it take for you to shine? I think we need one more. There we go. What does it take for you to shine? We have the Seven of Swords. Kind of an underhanded, mischievous kind of energy. And we have the Two of Cups, which on the other hand is very harmonious. We have the Hanged Being. We have the Seven of Cups. The choice is we have the Death and we have the Moon. Oh, look at that. Yes, I think you need to look at things a little bit differently. I think you need to allow yourself a bit of an upgrade, so to speak. What makes you shine? What makes you passionate? What makes you feel like your entire being is just vibrant with life? I feel like this is what you're being called to action about. Like, do some of that. Not just for you, but in some shape or form to guide others, like you yourself are being guided. Cannot take the steps for you. The thing is, when we enter these sort of phases in life, we sometimes have to let other things go in order to welcome something new, in order to sort of, from a very internal point of view, in order to embrace the joy and the vibrancy of life, you are at some point going to have to let go of, for instance, negative ideas about your past or resentment that you may have built up during experiences in your life, that in order to, and I'm not saying let go as in those things didn't matter, because they absolutely do. Have you been through trauma? Have you been through things that were hard? Of course they matter, but they need, in order to embrace the joy of life, they do need to take the back seat. And it can be hard to let go of that. It can be hard to, because at the end of the day, we sort of grow into the different roles that we have. And that same thing goes for when we tell the story of how we were hurt. That is also a role that we blend ourselves into. But in order to shift, in order to move forward, we're going to have to part with that role. And that can be scary. That can be, and it can be forces that really come from this sort of subconscious level where, like, you can't really explain why it's hard to let go. It just is. You have a choice here. You do have a choice. It's not beyond your control, but it's not necessarily easy to do either. And with the Seven of Swords, this kind of underhanded energy, I wonder if you're telling yourself stories that is not completely aligned with the truth. And I'm not saying that like you do it intentionally. It's kind of like, again, with the roles, when you tell yourself a certain story, you may at some point come to view yourself as the hurt one. But a part of you may actually be ready to shift into the joyful one. Now, this is a very simplistic sort of example of it, but it's more, to describe the energy and the shift of energy that lies in this reading, that coming from one place and kind of having to leave some of the luggage that you carry with you in order to have hands free to embrace the next. How can you radiate light in the dark? You can radiate light in the dark by allowing your shine to come through. Can we have any further guidance for my pile 2s? Are there any ways, meshes that this light can come through? And this one too. Okay. You're getting a lot of cards compared to pile number 1. Any additional messages? We have Ace of Pentacles. Right. The start of something new. We have 9 of Cups. We have the 4 of Wands, the celebration, and the Justice. Things will be served right. The 4 of Wands is this sort of celebration, but this also, it's not just celebration, it's typically called the wedding card. But the thing about weddings is that wedding is not just celebrations, it's also honest, loyal, truthful commitment to something. You have to commit to your journey. You have to commit to letting your light shine in order for it to become this abundant, in order for it to bring in new things. But it is within your choice. It's not like somebody else has to decide it for you. It is within your own hands. I'm seeing that something new starts as well. And I think like that journey of letting your light shine, it kind of sparks something. Like almost that something is what really makes it progress even further, and maybe even going faster forwards. But yes, you are being asked, like the card said, you're going to have to take the steps yourself. No one else can do it for you. It's kind of like what I say when I write my articles on my website and various social media. I don't want to preach or teach people the ways of the druid or how to do spells and stuff like that. I would rather shine a light and make visible the ability that each individual carries within themselves, because witchcraft is not some collective workbook that you can just tap into. Witchcraft is something that is built within, from within. And letting your light shine I want to show you something I have here. This is something I got from my former boss. I got this in my birthday present. A little stone saying, "Dare to be different, dare to hang upside down." Speaking of the hanged being. Dare to hang upside down. Almost like a bat. Funny how bats, they have this, I don't know what that's called in English, but this kind of, is it ultrasound it's called, that they sort of navigate by? Which is kind of a special way to navigate. Embrace what makes you special. Honor it like you would a commitment in the magnitude of at least what I perceive a wedding to be. Honor it with all your being, with all your heart, with all your soul. And dare to face the things that may not serve that path. Now, sometimes changes has to move, in their own pace. So if you feel like there's something you have to let go, or feel like, oh, there's a lot of things I can't take with me if this is supposed to happen, take it little steps at a time. Make your priorities. What hinders you the most? Or maybe not start with what hinders you the most, but what is the easiest to work with right now, especially if you're in a state where you feel overwhelmed or like you don't really know exactly which way to go. Then it can be really easy to start with something that is quite manageable. Yes. I'm getting rather curious about this light and what makes you special. So, if this resonate with you, well, regardless of what card you choose, if it resonates with you, I'd love to hear how it resonates in your world, how it lands in your hands. What makes you shine? I'd love for you to share what makes you shine, because I'm pretty sure that there's going to be people out there that maybe look at that comment and be like, oh yeah, I really love that too. Maybe I should give that a bit of a go. And that way you can actually spread these rings in the water and inspire other people to let their light shine. So yes, but it is within your choice. There is really nothing sort of external that really holds the power over this. But it's not necessarily going to be without certain sacrifices. How big or small those sacrifices are, that kind of depends on the individual situation. But I want to finish with this, my dear Pile 2s, because I think it's a beautiful message. Dare to be different. Thank you for watching. If this resonated, if this gave you something, if you want to, see more readings from my hands, then please press the buttons and follow and bell icons and all of that. And then I will see you hopefully in the next reading. My dear Pile 2s, all my best to you and take care. Bye. Hello, my Pile 3s. You have chosen the card number 40, the card of Salt. Just pull this up for you right here. What requires your protection? What do you need to protect right now? Now, underneath this person, we have the wave, which typically is emotions. But in waves, we sometimes also have the salt in the water, depending, of course, on what waters we're talking about. But the salt protects. The salt is very much connected to the earth element, which is, at the end of the day, quite feminine elements. And I'm not talking gender here. What requires your protection? Can we get some answers around that? I feel like there's multiple cards here. Maybe we need them both. Let's see. The divine plan is always happening. Even if all appears to be going backwards at an alarming rate, do not give in to doubt. Do not dispense with trust. The ocean appears to pull back in order to build another wave that will soon reach the shore. So it is with the unfolding of life, and the mysterious workings of grace. Trust unconditionally, celebrate. Now, not going into too many political things, then that is definitely something that I think most of us recognize these days. Now is the time. Now is the time to be open to what will be. Embrace your destiny, beloved. It is calling you forward, even whilst it is hurtling towards you. Your time is now. I always find that there's something sweet in this image. Something really looking forward-ish. Right, let me just look at this again. You know that phrasing, it's always darker before the dawn? What requires your protection? What is vulnerable in your life right now? What is something that is, so to speak, under threat, but that you're not willing to let go of? And this can be a relationship. It can be a person in your life that you care deeply about that may not be doing well. But it can also be something within you. When we reach levels of our mental states where we kind of it's not necessarily depressed, but it's when we reach low levels, then we tend to experience this feeling of we may be trying to do something to pull ourselves out, but it's kind of like we keep getting pulled backwards. So that state of the journey of pulling yourself out of something, out of the basement, so to speak, can be a rather hard journey to go through, especially because in many ways, or not in many ways, but in at least some cases, that battle is for many people something they have to do on their own, because it's kind of like the saying, it takes one to know one. If there's no one in your life that truly either literally knows what's going on, or that simply don't understand, then it can be a really tough place to go through. So it's always darker before the dawn, but now is the time. There's some urgency here. There's some interesting energies in these cards. Not that one. Now is the time. What requires your protection? What requires your protection right now? Not next week, not... I even want to say not tomorrow. Those two. Do we need more? We need the bottom one. There is some sort of urgency surrounding what requires your protection. It's always darker before the dawn. The waves always move backwards. Interesting how this talks about waves. The ocean appears to pull back in order to build another wave that will soon reach the shore. Now, the back card was Four of Cups. Let's put it here. Four of Cups tends to be this procrastination, this kind of like not really appreciating what you have. Then we have the Magician. We have, oh, that's hard to see without glasses. King of Wands. We have the Queen of Swords. Wow, those are big cards. We have the Knight of Cups. We have the Lovers. Oh my God. And we have the Nine of Pentacles. Wow, those are big energies. Let me just sit with that for a bit. I see these cards as cards of a promise, cards of a sort of guidance to, you know, you may, in the traditional deck, and you see this, then you see this guy sitting at a tree and kind of really not want to receive the fourth cup because there's already cups there. So it's kind of like this an unmotivated energy, like I really don't want more of this. I really can't be bothered. But we're seeing here with the Magician, we're seeing manifestation. We're seeing making something out of what you already have. You don't need anything else. It's like when we wait, when we say, oh, but we can't do it now because the wave is pulling back. Of course we can do it now. This is our time. This is this is where momentum builds up. This is where we plan. This is where we start creating so that when the wave comes, we're ready. Now, the King of Wands is this accomplished energy, this really vibrant energy that just is in complete balance with his own sort of creating ability. It's really no wonder why these two are side by side. Then we have the Queen of Swords that tends to be this a little bit more calculated energy. Not in a bad way though. She's usually described as the cold queen, but I actually feel like she's the very smart, intelligent energy that has the complete overlook, the complete strategy laid out, and she knows exactly how to move her pieces. Right. Then we have the Knight of Cups. that sort of leans into a more emotional energy, or sort of subconscious energy even, but ready to bring it forth. Now, the lovers usually tend to be about relationship, or it usually tends to be interpreted as relationship. But the lovers are ultimately also about choices. It's about choosing what you want to invite in to your life, and what energy gets to have your priority. I think it's fascinating that we have the demotivation here, and then we have finish off with the Nine of Pentacles, where, you know, this sort of abundant feeling just flows in. I mean, there's plenty of pentacles in the tree, and things growing from the soil. It's so vibrant and fertile and full of life. This is someone saying, I don't know. This is someone saying yes. What requires your protection? I want to say that what requires your protection, and this will not apply to all of you, but there is someone that's meant for the next sentence. What requires your protection is the little child in you that think that you don't deserve this. The little child that says, I can't do it. I'm not sure I can do it. I haven't learned the skills. I'm not capable. I'm not allowed. I haven't earned it. And that struggle with the inner child, especially with those kind of sentences, can really be this wave pulling back, because when you start to notice how much your inner child has adopted of negative self-talk, then you become very much aware of these things, and it can be quite, I want to say, almost kind of like a dark night of the soul, where you just really you start to understand how you haven't really been treating yourself in a fair way whatsoever. Now, this is, of course, if it revolves around something internal, but this can also be something that revolves around something external. I'm not really seeing a distinct energy within or without, so it can be both. For instance, if you're in a job environment, you may have this, now I'm hearing the word project, a project that's going on. I want to say protect your ideas. Don't let others get the praise for them. Yeah, don't let others get the praise for them. Own your energies. Own what is your creation. Be proud of it. They're yours. Now is your time. But I do feel like this is probably where the tension lies right now, in terms of the sort of demotivations up against the, I really, really want to do this, but I don't think I can. I don't think I deserve it, but I really want to do this, but Is it the right time? Quick note, it's never the right time. Can we please get some additional information for the pile of freeze, please? Something. Can we get some guidance as to, is this primarily within? Is this primarily without? I'm going to get those two. And for some reason, I want this one as well. Now let's look. We have the Ten of Wands, hard work. We have the Three of Cups, celebration coming together. We have the Six of Swords, going to new places, and we have strength. Right. Do you notice the mixed energies here? The hard work, the celebration, going to new places, it requires strength. You don't have to carry it all by yourself. Now protect what's yours. As I said before, if in a work environment, if something is your idea, don't let others take it. But where it's possible, be more to lift the work, be more to lift the wands, the sticks. Don't carry it all by yourself. There can be joy, there can be enrichment in letting in other people, maybe on the idea. What was this about? Your time will come. Some souls are slower to blossom, building their inner beauty over time until just the right moment. Then the fullness of their beauty, power and grace is revealed, providing powerful healing medicine for those in need of comfort and hope. This is what it looks like. I think this is a healing journey. A healing journey where you sort of overcome. And in that overcoming, you heal something. You make the energy shift needed to manifest. But not only that, I feel like this card actually also talks into healing of others. Like, this is not only something that benefits you, it's actually something that impacts beyond the boundaries of your everyday life. But I do see a notion of allowing someone else to help lift or carry some of the burden, because we do need that sometimes, especially if we're caught in some sort of dark night of the soul where, you know, the wave is pulled back. Even if all appears to be going backwards at an alarming rate, do not give in to doubt. Trust unconditionally. Celebrate. It's kind of like this manifestation, like affirmations, where you start telling yourself, looking into the mirror, I'm beautiful, I'm worthy, I'm beautiful, I am capable. and you sort of start working against your own sort of negative self-talk, then you start actively building up positive self-talk. There is this sort of energy shift here that not only benefits you, but can actually reach farther than that. But there is a call. Do you feel like you have to be strong for someone, or have to be strong in certain situations? Because while I do see a support in that area, I also see a slight notion like you don't always have to be the strong one. It is okay to let yourself be carried a bit of the way. Yes. My dear Palfreys, those were the messages for you. I hope this resonated. If it did, or if you want to see more readings from my hand, go more, behind the scenes of druidry, witchcraft, making simple things, making a balanced, simple life, stuff like that, then please consider following my channel, because I'm going to dive into a lot of different things. I am going to do more pick a card readings, but I also talk about certain things, sort of more behind the scenes, as in the video that actually were the precursor to this one, where I talk about how to approach pick a card readings. So if you haven't seen that yet, I would advise you to go see it, because I feel like there are tips and tricks in there that might be beneficial to most people. And it's something that some other things I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, so I feel like it could be, I think it's about a half an hour video. I think it could be a half an hour well spent, but only if you want to, of course. Thank you so much for watching, so much for lending me your time, and I wish you the very best with what it is you're undertaking right now. Remember to let your light shine. It's your time now. Remember that. Beautiful Paltheries, that was the reading. Please like, subscribe, and all those other beautiful things, and I would be very, very grateful. Anything, the decks, any links, sort of that, will be found in the description, so go check that out if you found anything here that you felt needed a closer look. So yeah, have a blessed time, and thank you for watching. Bye.